Oh God. Going live. Hello, welcome. So I'm gonna be working on the Voxel shader from Friday. As you can see, it's busted as all hell. I do have a to-do list today. I actually like 20 minutes before the stream, sat down and went what the fuck do I need to do to make this so that this doesn't take all stream of me just being frustrated and doing the same thing over and over. So what we're gonna do is probably turn off the lighting, but that seems like a different issue. We need to go into here, and we're gonna go to the to-do list. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add a staircase biome. We're gonna drop it down to being exactly one chunk, and that exactly one chunk is going to use a custom biome that will generate like a staircase effect, probably 2-axis staircase, so that basically I have more knowledge of where exactly things are supposed to be. Because the issue at the moment is like with the terrain generation, it's like I can't actually tell if it's supposed to be the highest block and that kind of thing. So I need some kind of staircase thing so I can actually compare two blocks and be like, okay, that's definitely rendering in the wrong spot. Because I don't know what's wrong with a bunch of stuff. Then we're going to fix one voxel at a time, one axis at a time. So we're going to make it so that Y works and is in the spot that I expect Y to be. And then we'll make it so that X works and is in the spot that I expect X to be. And so we're going to do that. So how do we... What do I do that? Okay, so first thing we need to do is go to map, and then we have to go into world gen. So we set up these different biomes, and somehow in one of these it's got map gen biomes. So do we have debug biomes? We're gonna go into the debug biomes, and we're gonna have a pub enum. No, a pub struct. Staircase biome. So we're gonna have nothing for now. What I'm thinking is that the staircase biome might have things like generating solid blocks next to it, or starting at 0, going down to negative, that kind of thing. But we're not gonna do that for now. So we're gonna import biome. Hey, welcome to the stream. Biome descriptor for staircase biome. Okay. So strength is 1, priority is U8 max, I guess. Generate column. Okay, so this takes in the origin. Interesting. Noise. Okay, so apparently this needs to be reflect for some reason. Wait, why have I made it need to be reflect? What? Clone biome is not satisfied, but why isn't clone? Because you're not clone. Right, you need to be clone biome, which means that you need to be clone and also be biome. That's very confusing. Anyway, okay, apparently that works. So we can underscore this too. So this takes in the map descriptor, which is fine. Ground, which I don't. This stuff's all very weird. I haven't worked on any of this code in ages. Anyway, we're going to say we have void, which I don't think we actually want void. Is there air? No, apparently we just have void. Okay, so we're going to let mute data block void chunk. Let h equal, I guess, x plus z, and then for h in 0 dot chunk size. If h is greater than y, I think I can do this faster. So we're going to say for block in data dot because this returns just the column, if I remember, because it's just block to block size. So itamute dot take, and then we take h, and then we just say block, dereference block equals block. I guess we'll just do stone. Then we return data, and then your ground height is 0. And I guess we'll just see what this looks like. Because if it's origin x plus origin z, now the main issue with this is that it's possible that this is going to return negative numbers. And therefore just going to crash. We should probably also maybe like use the biome. That would probably help as well. So we're going to say stop generating multiple biomes, like so. I'm just going to go down here. I'm just going to go box new okay, yeah, I didn't do anything because we didn't sample that. Anyway, biomes. So we figured like biomes. So we debug biome. Okay, so we do like staircase biome. Here and we go biomes, staircase biome. Like that. Okay. Because that's going to end up sampling negative numbers, I think. Maybe. Ooh. Very slow. That's actually surprisingly slow, considering that All right. So one thing I'm thinking is maybe we fix the voxel shader. But anyway, apparently the fragment voxel thing is just broken as all hell. That's fine. Okay, so for one thing, that tells me that you can't take a negative number, which I guess works. I'm surprised that doesn't crash, but I mean, I guess thanks for not crashing. Biome debug. Right, so I guess one of the main things we need to do is go back to like our map gen and well, it's not here because this just describes the map gen. Is it in here? Yeah. All right, let's set this down to say like 1 by 1 by 1, 0 to 1, because you go from negative 0 to 0. Okay, so also that should definitely be inclusive for x and z, I guess. Otherwise, it's slightly bigger in one axis than the other. And that goes from 0 to 1. Okay. Did I just like not save it? It's just, again, set this to 0, 0, and then height goes from 0 to 1. So this should only generate me like 4, because it should be from negative 0 to 0, which is just 1, and then from well, it's just chunk. It should only generate me chunk 0 to chunk 0. No, it's still generating just an absolute shitload of chunks. Why is it still generating me a shitload of chunks? All chunks generated took only 2.2 seconds, took 1.1 milliseconds each. They're 2.245 samples. Why are you generating so many goddamn chunks? I'm guessing something is just... Oh no, I bet I'm then generating everything that's in visible range. Hide empty chunks is fine. Chunk lookup, import chunk. Where do we do the thing? Is it in player maybe that we somehow? Where is it? So plugin, move player, jump player, player look, update visible chunks. It's gonna be something like Q. I found this new plugin, by the way. This is actually kind of cool because this will be useful for what I'm doing. If we go to like systems, main world systems. One of these is going to be like called update visible, update mesh generator, update grounded, spawn biome info, spawn cursor, show biome info. It's like maybe it's an observer when the player moves. Move the universe, not the ship. Chunk generation distance. No, okay. It's gotta be somewhere around here. Regenerate chunks. You do something. So you kill chunks in a Q collection hash map. Chunk generator. So it's something that uses the chunk generator. Very get rid of the comma. So there's two things in debug. There's something in here. So this is what generates the original chunk. Update mesh generator. I think this is the thing that consumes. Yeah, this queues meshes. Check need generate. All right, so this is just going to re-return. Well, actually, it probably makes way more sense to go generate distance from world self. And we're just going to put a little to do here and say to do set back to normal. The other option would be to make sure that like every chunk just returns 0 if it's outside of the starting chunk. But I don't think we have any access to the chunk stuff inside the biome, which theoretically makes sense because you don't want a chunk to know that it's inside of a biome. If we go to settings, sorry, debug, and then be like show global XYZ. So it goes all the way down to the bottom of the world. Apparently I can't go any lower. What? Why can I not fly up? Oh, did I turned off fly mode, didn't I? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So bottom. I really need to fix that lighting. So our chunk size is like 32 by 32. Yeah, 64 by 64. So that means it negative 32, negative 2. That is the emptiest block. Lovely. Now I am thinking maybe we want to generate the map to be slightly bigger, but like tell the thing that if the numbers are out of side, maybe not. Anyway, that gives us. Oh, I guess every height up to. I guess that does make sense, doesn't it? Because that's the top of the block. As in, if we did another one, it would generate even higher. But all right. So I guess what we need to do is go to our staircase biome. here and go, if, I guess, if origin dot y is below -32, origin dot return or return block, not void. We want to say the bottom needs to be something nice and like we're just doing it like maybe green, maybe iron oxide because it'll like at least look nice, and then chunk size. Right, so that means that if it's below, which means we're just going to quickly check that and make sure that one, we haven't broken something. I'm pretty sure your origin should be less than, I'm probably should be less than or equal to. I'm just not sure what your origin is, because your origin could be 0, for all I know. Right, cool. So that then means that if we go back to our map gen, we can just make that map gen a little bit bigger. Map descriptor. In here? No, it's in here. When we generate our map, we just want to go like -1. I need it to be like so I can see where 0 is. What is my block? Apparently it's not finished generating anything. That's weird. Wait a second, it's not generating anything. What do you mean? Alright, first off, I'm gonna go blocks, and I just want to change that stone to being block 1, so then I can really easily do so grass. Alright, probe debug. We're gonna go start with everything being that, and then change it to grass. Because if it's grass, then I can easily check it in the shader and then know like to do something fancy with it. Now I'm just curious, why the hell when we say like map gen, why does -1? Okay, wait a second. Map.worldSize.0. Shouldn't it be map height? Wait, what? Okay. Right, so map depth stays 0 and wow, I guess map depth would be -1, and then we'd have to change this to 2. For some reason. I don't know why I've done it that way. It's a very strange way of doing it. Anyway, so we have a block of grass, but there's no chunk underneath, which I find bizarre. It makes me think that the chunk underneath is maybe potentially entirely invisible because every single block is too low. So I'm going to say less than or equal to 32, -32. Because it should only be trying to make 2 chunks. Nope. Well, it doesn't even say it's done generating the chunks. Can we just get it to print something, please? Print line generating column. So it's generating 0, but it's just not generating all the others. Unless it was doing -1 first, but... Alright, we need to do something like if x origin.x equals 0 and origin z equals 0. That should mean that we only do 1 column per chunk gets printed out, and then it should tell us if we're generating 2 chunks or not. But I don't know what I've fucking done to break it so that it's not generating enough chunks. Theoretically, I could just make the map even lower again. No, so it's only generating that 1 chunk, which means when we go to here, we need to be like, maybe make this like -2. And like a height of 3. Because it's definitely only queuing that 1 chunk. I'm wondering if it's removing them because I'm getting too far away, maybe? Possibly. Alright, so we have to go back to wherever we were before, where we went like, chunk. Where's mute chunk? No, here. So, chunk need generate. So this will mean it doesn't queue new chunks. And then we just track down the generate distance and set that back to the view. I think it was 1. There we go. So it's got something to do. Well, it definitely generated it. I just can't see it, which is even more bizarre, to be honest. Why can I not see it? Yeah, so it must only be queuing them if they actually are close enough, which is kind of funny. Anyway. Why is the... Also, why is this pointing at nave 64? I guess it must be the lowest point of that chunk. Right. That still isn't. I guess you're 0, 0, 0. Okay. That's interesting. Because that does imply that this chunk's actually in the very wrong spot, because you should be, if your columns all start at 0, 0, 0, Okay, what if we just did this then? We'll go back to the map and just again tweak the width and height and everything so that it doesn't like -1, 2. Okay, so something's going wrong where if they're a completely solid, if they're completely solid, they're getting ignored by the shader, which I assume has something to do with vertex. Here. We just don't. What? Okay. If I get rid of like a whole if statement then. And we run that. Because what I'm thinking is that it's possible it's generating 2 chunks. All the chunks are completely empty. That's so strange. Is it to do specifically with iron oxide? There's a chance that maybe it's just generating black blocks. So maybe we'll change our fallback to something else. Like if we make our fallback stone. And then tried that. Because there's a chance that maybe like, because the iron oxide shouldn't be black, but there's a chance that like something's going terribly wrong. See, I can't see it at all. Okay. But if I make it grass, because surely grass works. Alright, so that seems to work, right? I'm wondering if it's because it gives us different angles. See, so you can do it. And this does spawn 2 chunks directly on top of each other. Like that. I also wonder if that is the whole chunk. Maybe that's not the whole chunk. It does go from 32 to 32. Yeah, it does, because it's like -32 there and 32 at the top. And we're returning 64. Yeah, okay. So there's something about and then we want to say data chunk size -1 equals block stone, and then we just return data. Well, if we're going to do that, we may as well do that. Right. So that should mean that it's a single layer of stone, and then are we going to see it? Like, am I doing some kind of weird thing about when the block is entirely solid? I'm just like ignoring it somehow? Possibly. I don't get how I was working on the other shit, but let's just see if that works. Okay, so the answer is somehow yes. And also, you're like missing an entire thing. Right. I don't know how that works. Let's just turn all this back on. Because, yeah, I don't know. It's all a little bit strange. All right. This would make sense because that's 0, 0, and therefore it's taking 0. Mm-hmm. All right. Again, I don't understand why you don't have a top. I don't even understand where the top is going. Can we go here and just be like, because it is rendering, when I'm above, it's rendering below. Yeah. So, when we do here, we get fragment, and we just go C, texture sample. If the block ID equals 0, discard. Get block. So if its ID is 0, and then we're going to go here, we're going to say if mesh dot world normal dot y is less than 0. Like it does not equal 0. Return green. Okay. Okay, I'm very confused about why the entire chunk's just missing. Now let's go back to the staircase and let's make the staircase do something. If origin x is right. We can do that down here. It's if origin do that, else do that. Then we can go back to our map. So first off, don't do anything because that'll leave origin empty. And then we go back to our map gen, and we're just going to increase our map gen by like 1 in every direction. So this should then generate bounding chunks so that we can effectively see like each of the chunks that would be connected. They should have like a layer of stone. And I'm trying to work out where the fuck my top is because I can't see it. Like, it should be just bright green. But it's just not there, which confuses me to no end. So if I go back to here and say, vertex, don't do literally anything fancy. We might still need to do that though, because okay, so if you get to here, which is saying that you're all can we go like out dot world position dot y minus equals 0.1? So it's still not visible? And if we add 0.1, it's still not visible. What if we made it 2 layers thick? Because this is the issue that I'm having, where for some reason just half of the fucking Y's are missing. So that's going to be in our thing here. So duplicate this, and then we're like -2 as well. So make it 2 layers thick. And then if it suddenly shows up, it's somehow it's missing every other Y. Which is very strange to me, but So you're still not rendering it from above, but you are rendering it from below. Okay. Now that one feels a little bit more like the shader is just not doing something it's supposed to. Because the shader should definitely still be rendering it. Right, of course. Which is that I literally turned off the piece of code that makes it visible again. So we're going to do this, doing that. And they should flip the... Not completely. So if vertex.normal y is equal to 0, not equal to 0, so why is it missing the even vertices entirely? So when I look up, nothing's happening. Vertex dot position. Well, one of these doesn't actually need to do that. No, you do, because it's just where you are. We have to make this also negative? I think making that negative was not the right thing to do. Don't make it 11 either. Right, so what is going on? For some reason, it's only flipping some of them. Which honestly is even more confusing. Maybe I need to flip both sets. Okay, so -1 becomes 0, 1, 1, and okay, so what if we said something like, so if your y position is below me, let ny or ogy equals position dot y vertex dot position dot y minus the reciprocal of the size, because it's basically saying that like you're the bottom face now, so you need to be flipped, and that makes you OGY, and you also become OGY. And then we want to say, instead of doing that, we need to we need to leave one of these behind so we can do it again. We can do this, and this should make all of them disappear, because it's effectively should set all of them to being exactly the same point. Good, good. Then we need to say, so our top position equals da 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 da. Then we need to say that bar pos equals vertex dot position times by -1. So that should flip the negatives to the positives and the positives to the negatives. And then pos dot y equals OGY, and then your var for pos and 1. Okay, interesting. What? Okay, so if we said pos was var vec3f It's okay, so still hasn't reappeared. Right, that makes sense because we haven't actually flipped it. But if I make u negative and u negative, question. Why can I not see you? What if we remove the condition? Right, so it doesn't matter where we are. That should mean that we can still see the top one if the math is not flipping anything. So math's doing something. It's just somehow the math is like erasing the triangles entirely. Reopen paint, work this out a little bit. So I'm entirely unsure what the fuck is going on, because my triangle should be from -1, -1, 1, 1, -1, 1, 1, -1, right? So that's my my thing, and so I think it's like this, and so it goes. So this is like 0, 1, 2, 3. It's something like that. We'll go back to the chunk generation and be like, when we bake this mesh, it's -1, -1. So this is 0.0. This is Z. Sorry. Got a Y. Yeah, -1, -1, 1, -1, 1, -1. So this is undo that. So this is 0, 1. One, 1. So that makes this 2. And -1, 1. Which makes this 3. Right. And then our order of vertices is 1, 0, 1, 2. So 0, 1, 2. 2, right, which is a counterclockwise triangle, and then 0, 2, 3. Which 0, 2, 3. Also a counterclockwise triangle, which is why we can only see them from underneath. But then we flip these two. So we flip 0 and 2. Which means we go 0 to 1 to 2, which is clockwise. I don't get it. If we flip, so if we flip 1 and 3, so it'd be 2, 0, 1, 3. So if we flip all of them, why does that not work? Because 0 to 1 is counterclockwise then. Yeah, okay. So we can only flip the positive ones. Maybe. Where's our shader? So that can be done, that's fine. We can say if vertex dot position dot x equals -1 and vertex dot z equals. Okay, don't do this. You just you would then become 1. OGG1, and then the -1 would become, this one would become -1, -1. No, not you. You would, yeah, okay, well, first off, that wouldn't go there at all, because that would just overwrite the world position again. So we set the world position. We do this, we calculate the new y, then we check, if you're this one, reset your world position to this new position, else if you're this one, reset your world position to this new position. So why is it only... See, but none of them are rendering on the top, which means that it's literally that the triangle is somehow resulting in a stupid pattern. So first off, if I do that, that means it only happens to the one that's below us, which means that the top should start working again. Yes. But why? Why are you only one triangle? It's not this. I'm sure of that though. Okay, it's not clicking in my head why this doesn't work. Like why is it, first off, it's not even like it's doing every other triangle. It is something about it is causing these triangles to actually be fucked up. Okay, if this number is less than negative 0.99 and you are less than negative 0.99. What? And if you were greater than 0. But it doesn't even need to be 99, it can be 0.9, I guess. It probably does need to be 99 because otherwise we end up clipping like ones that aren't actually the corner ones, possibly? I don't know. Like, it's not a rounding issue. No. Why the fuck are you not getting every triangle? So I turn this one off. They're all crammed onto a single. And I'm guessing if I turn this one off, it's going to do the same thing because they're, but it's just going to be. Mm-hmm. That doesn't make, like, literally any sense to me. Um, 0.5. Mm-hmm. Okay. Where's the second triangle, though? That also doesn't make any sense to me, but anyway. That should be way, way further away. Oh wait, it's probably the Y that I need to tweak. Alright, so you become one. If I make this like +1, there should be 2 triangles. So first off, there's way, way too many triangles now. But I think that's more to do with every single one of them. Yeah, it's like every part of the chunk. So we need to add, I don't know, like, what was it? It was recip chunk size. Wait, what? So it seems more like it's going too high. Hmm. The fuck is it? Where the fuck is it going? First off, we're going to get rid of that layer because if my understanding is correct, and it's that it's sampling the wrong, like it's somehow getting up the wrong block height. If we get rid of that top layer, it should. So don't do the top layer. But that makes even less sense because it's not reaching into another chunk, or it shouldn't be. Like I was going like maybe it's reaching across a chunk boundary and therefore resampling the bottom of the chunk. But also it doesn't make sense for like the perfect triangle. Alright. So aha. These other triangles are not getting moved up. So all the vertices so let's do that first. So that's at least one of the bugs found, which is that this should probably be OGY. Right, and OGY is just going to be the original Y. Right. So now everything is like this. But, as you can see, it's, well... You're the top. Ah, you're supposed to be the bottom. Right. So the one that's not being modified, we need to change that in the actual code that compiles the chunk. The one that's not being modified needs to be the bottom, which means that it's the wrong one here, which is because we're doing -1. No, so it's a -1 plus step. Right, because you're rendering the top of that chunk, but you're rendering the bottom of that chunk, which means that you need to be not +1. Maybe? I don't know. If I recompile this. You're not going to be one step higher. Which, well, it makes you disappear for one thing. That's fine, I guess. I don't know. What is your step? It's very interesting that it's doing that. So if I go back to here and I just said something's discarding all of them, maybe. So look, if we go back to your vertex, if we don't discard zeros, like so, then suddenly all of them appear. We head out the side and we work out which one's actually missing. So yes, you're the bottom. Okay, and then when we do the flip, we need to add. Maybe making me think that I need to flip the I probably need to flip the thing. Anyway. So we go and we go, when you're in here, you plus recip chunk size. Right. Right. So what I should actually probably do is instead of recomputing it like that, we should always just do the vec vertex dot position.y. Right. So what I'm thinking here, because again, as we're concluding, it's like there's no point having a variable if we're just going to do it. But what we need to do is then say one final else. Reciprocate chunks. I'm trying to do it in a way that's not very slow, but I'm apparently failing at that. Here we go. We're out dot world position dot y plus equals 1. Right, so what we're doing is we are recalculating the position of these two chunks, the two vertices in the corner. So we can probably set this back to equals -1 and equals 1. So both negative and then equals 1 and equals 1. All right, so we went to it right. So we are flipping these two with each other. So these two corners get flipped, which reverses the order of our triangle winding. But we also need to make because it's going to be the bottom face now becomes the top face, we have to move it up by 1 block. But we also need to do that with the others as well, which is move them up by 1 block. Now, I'm pretty sure why this is broken from underneath, when we go back to, that's it, is we go back to here and we turn back on the discard if it's 0, is that I bet that I've got the, yeah, so you can see that one, but you can't see that one, which is that the normal is wrong. So we need to flip the normal in our chunk generation. So we generate the chunk. What did I do to make my mouse sensitivity go fucking bonkers? This feels really weird. Anyway, looks like it collapsed everything so that it's easy to get back and forth. Where is it? Down here. Right. Which makes perfect sense because we're using the top set, like so. Which means we want the top set of normals, which is that they point into the negative y, which to me seems backwards, but anyway. Right, so this should make the bottom render now and the top should disappear because in the shader, we correct for the which face you are. We use the normal to work out if we step down, like we round down or round up to stop it Z fighting like right on the edge of blocks, which means that our top is now working again. Right, unclear why that one voxel is not working, but anyway, we ignore that for now. Then inside of our vertex shader, when we get to here, we go, hey, if you're going to flip this, you go out dot normal. Yeah, I guess just equals. So just invert that, which means unclear why you're special. Anyway, so when we're on the top, right, when we're looking from above, we add 1. When we're looking from below, we don't add 1. But when we're looking from above, we also flip the normal, which now means it's sampling the correct block. Okay. Okay. Now, it's probably going to be faster theoretically, like the shader would be theoretically faster if I swap this to a, just set it to 1 because we know that it starts at -1 or whatever, like it's set to. But anyway, we're going to ignore that for now. Next is to go back into our, here, and like actually sample. I feel like we need to turn the lighting off because it's just flickering and I don't like it. Can we just comment that out, return color, like that. I should hopefully stop it from flickering. It doesn't seem to be, but anyway, just going to pretend that it did. Go back up to here. It annoys me so much that this is constantly doing what it's doing anyway. And then we just don't do that, and then that should result in... It needs to just stop applying lighting, if it would kindly. Okay. All right, so then we go back to, I guess it's a chunk. It's our debug biome thing here. We go, okay, go back to generating the staircase effect. I do wonder if that also fixes our issue of every other layout, but anyway. I'm going to leave this alone for now because it's working. It's rendering nice flat gray slabs to make it easier to see the boundary between chunks. Okay. Because on the wrong side. Why did that not work? So you clearly aren't getting hit. Origin. Okay. So first off, two of these chunks 100% should be staircase chunks, but they're not. So that should mean that this only runs for that specific Why is it not like it? No, sorry. That makes sense actually, because I'm saying, right, if origin dot y equals 0, that should mean that the entire 0th layer, which is annoying. Because we have to, like, I guess make sure that the x and the y and the z, because see, it's generating lots of chunks. Right. So again, to hit it only doing the center chunk, we need to say and origin dot x is greater than 32 and origin z is greater than what? No, so less than 32. Less than 32. I think it's less than and equal to. Maybe I don't know which way it would be. Yeah. It's really annoying because there's no way of knowing what chunk it is. Actually, it probably is. Do I have like a chunk ID? I do. Can we qualify you chunk ID from that, which is then origin equals chunk ID, qualify that 0. There we go. That should do it, because now I'm actually specifically saying, does this block fall into chunk 0, as opposed to trying to fucking work out like which columns go into 0, but also because I can just convert the block at our origin. So apparently we generated the staircase, but only one. Only block 0, 0, 0. Well, that's interesting. What was the fucking next block? Because that implies that this is just broken. Oh, no, sorry. Sorry. From translation, we have to give it a vec3. It's very dumb. Well, it floors it. That might work. I kind of want to go like pub from block. Wait, do you have it then? No. Oh no, the chunk block is even, yeah, it's a different thing entirely. That's what's going on there. Let's go back to debug. Go back to our chunk ID. So from block, which is then an ivec3, which would then just be block divided by chunk size. As U32. Okay. So that would be block.x divided by something like that. So you know what? It probably doesn't need to be done this way. I'm just an idiot and converted it to U32 when it should be an I32. Go away. Block divided by I32. Yeah, there you go. Right. So then we can call it from block to convert from block. Now, here's the interesting thing. It's not actually doing the central chunk. I'm sure I've done this before, but anyway. Const block offset block plus block offset divided by chunk size. Because I should give it 32, which means that the negative 32 gets moved back in. Wrong direction. Maybe. Why is that not working? So then that's 32. All right, block offset's 32. Which makes this 32 by 32 by 32. Negative 32. Should have become 0. Negative 64 became 1, so first off, you wouldn't be chunk 0 anyway, so I don't know why you're even fucking making it. Oh, because negative 64 would become 32. No, but that should still become... I've definitely done this code before, because in my head it's so clear that, like, where I'm fucking up. Is it inside the ray casting? Right, because I'm flooring the float. There's probably a better way of doing that. But yeah, so the issue is that I'm flooring the float means that you can't do integer math because integer math truncates, it doesn't floor. I'd have to write custom piece of logic. I'll do that at some point, but not right now. Okay. Where are we fucking going? Biomes, debug. I need to know where this came from. Anyway. No. It's in like raycasting. Okay. In, I guess, is raycast private then? Where's the raycast? I can use raycast. But where is this? Player. Why is it in player? What the fuck am I doing? Alright. Should almost certainly be in... Yeah, whatever. Where the fuck is it? Okay. Just copy the fucking piece of logic. Go to chunk ID. Paste it in here, because why the hell would it not be in here? Where's the hell? What is this inside of? Raycast. paste that. And then you are block plus block offset as chunk ID from block. All right, and then you would be create map chunk ID. Right. That should then fix it so that it doesn't pick up erroneous chunks anymore. I really need to fix that because all I need to do, I think all I need to do is go if it's less than 0, 0. No, that's annoying. Well, actually, that would be the correct way of doing it, except I need to move the chunks around so that they actually are in the right spot. But anyway. Hud fucking da. Also, what? Okay, so first thing we can conclude is that the Z is definitely on the wrong axis. Right, so to go back to our, was that a raycast? Also, something's gone terribly wrong with that because the fact that I can see 2 of these implies it thinks it's too thick. Ah, no, gotcha. Okay, so we have to go back to our chunk generation. Wherever that fucking happens to be. It's in like map gen chunk. Right. So we have to make sure that we have the top set because we've commented out one set. So yes. Correct. Top set. Which means no. Well, that's interesting because I feel like you're the X. So it's probably the Z then. It's the wrong one. Right. So each of these is now the top set. Which should mean that each of these only renders 1. Maybe. Little squares and go, okay. So, in this corner, that face is rendering correctly. And the top face, well, except for the fact that the very top one is still missing, which again confuses me to no end why the very top one is missing. Why is every other Y missing? Anyway. So can't see anything from that way. Can't see anything from that way. Which also, again, very much confuses me. Alright, so I guess what we need to do is work out which one's actually broken. So we need to go here, and we need to go, okay. So, do this, except change this to X. X is red. Are you also just like missing every other one? Possibly. Why are you like that? Something tells me that that's to do with this was designed for 32. Something's using 32, I think. Not in here. The issue is that it's going to be really hard to find just the number 32. We can do 32 dot and see if it's like much. No, so it's obviously not that easy to find. Hmm. Mesh dot world normal. What if I just... Well, actually, let's see what that's exactly what I'm doing. No. We need to not discard if the block is empty. Are you actually rendering every single Z? Okay, X is my question. I think the answer is no. See how they're double spaced apart? Which makes me go, you are definitely rendering like double the step. The issue is how many is it actually rendering? 1, so that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 30. Okay, so I'm going to guess I double counted it, and it's doing 32 of them. Why are you doing 32? Where are you pulling 32 from? You bastard. Because what this is doing is rendering it no matter what the block is, which means that this is rendering everything. Which means for some reason the X is there's only 32 X's. Which means there's not actually as many X's as there's supposed to be. So when we generate the chunk, here, there's definitely 64 of them being sent over. And the step size is 2 divided by, which means that when you go from -1, you should end up at 1. Let's check the Y. Why are you adding, so you say Y offset plus Y times 8. I think it's probably times 4. Because you're only adding 4 when we used to be adding 8. And that would probably explain why it's skipping every other one. Okay. Which would explain why our Y is missing every other Y, and our X is missing every other X, and our Z is missing every other Z. It's because we're skipping over them entirely. We just don't add a triangle. It also kind of implies we're adding like Arrhenius triangles everywhere. Anyway. So let's get rid of the fucking X now. Let's just like not do that. And then also discard it if it's 0. Oh. Wow. Okay. Well, that was probably a massive chunk of what was wrong. Is that we just weren't drawing everything? Okay. So then, same logic. We go, okay. These two are rendering correctly. We go back into our vertex shader. We turn this on and we go, hey, if there's an X, and if that X happens to be negative, do something to it. We do exactly the same thing we did to the Y. So we just have to swap all the X's out for Y's. So if X is less than X, if you're Y, if you're Y, that's annoying. So, well, I guess you get rid of this, this, change this to an X, and you go 1 and -1. Right, so that should fix that, and then it's X plus 1. I actually think it's minus, but maybe not. It's really hard to tell because there's no shading, but this way there's holes in it, that way there's not. Okay. I mean, if vertex normal X equals 0, if out dot position X. So I think I got all the X's. Flip those. We add one to the X. We invert the normal. The inverting the normal is great because there can only ever be one normal that needs to be inverted because there's no such thing as a block that shares a corner. Okay. Theoretically, I could do that to save even more vertices, but I think that causes issues. Maybe not, though. It probably would, because I need to flip them, which means I would need to like rewind certain triangles, because you obviously can't flip one corner and not fuck up. Anyway, I think the only one that's left is Z. So again, we just copy all of that, paste all of it down here. We just say Z. And then again, Z, Z. Oops, sorry. You become X, you become X. Both of you go here. Both of you go here. You become Z plus, and then we let that. Boom. No. Something is still going on with the Z. But I think that something is probably just that I got it backwards. So the Z's probably minus. Or it could be that we're adding to the X. Wait, nope, not you. You're correct. You're the one that's not correct. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Looking promising, looking promising. If I go turn the, I think it's the lighting that I turned off. Apply lighting. Yeah, we just return color. If I do that, it's going to go back to flickering, I believe, but I kind of need the contrast. That is kind of cool. Okay. So I guess we're back at the point where we can probably switch back over to the other thing, regenerate with what it was. Okay, so I need to... probably make a new thing that's just like FN direction shader, which takes in, I guess, color, which is a vec. Well, actually, no, you don't even need that. You just need the normal vec3f, and then you're just going to return a vec3f like that, and then you say if normal dot y less than 0, it's not even a f32, it's just a f32. So you return 0. I want to say maybe there's 6 sides. You can also reuse 2 of the 3. So the bottom needs to be the darkest. Okay, so the top needs to be 100%. Right, which I'm just going to ignore. Else, if sure. So the x. So the x is never next to the z. So if z is positive, then we're slightly darker. So those two should be visible next to each other. So negative z can't ever be next to positive z. So they could share a number. Okay, so the implication is that you're the brightest because so the top's pointing towards the sun directly. The sun's slightly to the north, apparently, which I guess that would make the z. So positive z. Z is greater. So this would be the 98 because that's so then you would like be 0.9. Right. This is like a cheaty way of being able to distinguish blocks from different angles. But anyway, so this is sun is okay. Oh, okay. Sun is up above, so full lit. Okay, so that's if y greater than 0. Right, then else if y, and this actually becomes 1. And then this would be 0.9. So we're just going to put comments on each of these. So this is sun is below, so dark. Sun is opposite, so darker. Cut these two and put them up here so that like it looks nice. Right. So this is if z is to the negative, so this is sun is north, north. So then you are sun is north. So that does mean that I think both of the x's can be the same. So that would mean that you can both be like 6. And then this just goes sun is north. So I guess you get rid of one of the alphas, then you say not equal. And you say sun is north, so x, so east and west are dimmed. I don't know. So basically there's like 4 different states. So there's like the sun is direct, the sun is above you and to the north, which means that your top face is fully lit. Your underside is darker, which I guess, again, doesn't really matter, except you obviously don't want to be brighter than everything else. Right, 8, so that would mean that you become 6, 4, and then you 2. 8, 6, 4, 2. So full brightness, and then it's like, it's to the north, so you're slightly dimmed because, you know, it's not the most sun you could get. And then the opposite, south, so the south side is dimmed even further, and then the east and the west are slightly darker, but not quite, because they don't, you kind of have the x's touching. I don't know what I've fucking done. Why is it not compiling? So function darker shade is invalid, return expects none, does not match declared type sum 2. Can I not spell, please? Brain? There we go. So it's not going to do anything in a moment because, again, I haven't done anything. I don't remember what it's called. It's not ambient occlusion, but this is like a type of lighting thing. So shading of normal. Actually, that's what this is doing. So we just need to turn off the light. What does L actually return? Okay. From apply light, color position, normal, you just return the color. Yeah, you just return the color. So it's whatever we pass into you, which is C. So we just say C times face. Okay. It's just, I guess we'll set those values. So it's, okay, 0.9. Top is 1. They could probably lose a lot more light, is what I'm concluding. So maybe we go like 3, 3. Okay, like UB6. So 8, 6, 2, 9. Something like that. Okay, we definitely need to make it way darker. So the bottom can be like 8. Top is 1. Normal.x, so you'd be 9. Or 8, 5 even? No, you'd be 9, because you're the back. So then you'd be 9, 5. I guess maybe you'd be 8, 8, 5. And then you'd be 9. You'd be 9. Does that make it better? Okay, I think that makes it better. I think I've got it backwards because for some unknown reason, the Y being... So this is, actually this is top. Because as you can see, it's darker on top, which makes me think that I've got this backwards. It's 1.0, and that would make you 0.8. There we go. So now it's brightest on top. So I know that way is Z, so it's slightly brighter. Got the sun in the wrong direction, anyway. Hello. So it seems to be working, like, properly, I think. Annoyingly, I think I've turned the lighting back on for the test because that was on during the previous test, but anyway. I think we reset our benchmark and just see if we actually improve the frame rate. Probably not with my luck, because I've probably added more compute clearing out triangles than I saved. We can also make these elf, because again, it's not actually possible to test more than one. All right, I guess we reset the map. Where is that? It's like here. We reset that back to what it was for debugging purposes. Or for it. Go back to here, don't we? I'm going to have a look at maps. Chunk from block ID, map gen. Right, so we have to turn hills and plains back on, which is in map gen. Biomes, debug, map. Okay, so 22, 22, 5, and -1, which is the same. All right. Technically, it's going to be slightly bigger because I made these equals, but I don't care about fixing that, to be honest. Raycasting, staircase biome, don't care. We just need to go to our map gen and tweak the biome descriptor to not generate staircases and instead generate hills at 0 and plains at 0.1. Oh, okay. So there you go. It's no plains 0.1. There it is. So then when I run this, this should generate our map back exactly the way it was. Looks weird as all hell. Okay, what else have I still got broken then? Why are you not generating like the full-size map? The lighting looks really wonky now. We have to go back into our shader and turn the lighting back on. I also don't... Hello! Not a lot, just working on Voxel engine that I'm apparently terrible at. What's flickering? Okay. What have I still got wrong? What have I not reset? Did I not save my map, maybe? So it's still only generating... That could be it. Because if I didn't save here, then it won't generate the full-size map. Then we get to see... Okay. That doesn't seem correct, because it only generated like 10,000. Now, admittedly, that should actually technically be more chunks than it did before, but what's our benchmark say? It should be generating about 12,000 chunks, but it's not, which I find very strange. What else have I still broken then? So staircase biome. Okay. So you wouldn't have broken it. You adding the equal sign should have made it bigger. Staircase biome, chunk ID, chunk from. So chunk. That's all just generation stuff, which is fine. Voxel if mesh normal. That's inside the shader. So, okay, unclear to me. Yeah, no, it's more like I've been fucking around inside the shader doing things for ages. So I'm doing a really silly rendering technique. Like, it would probably be good if I actually went into the renderer and did specific things to make it better. But basically, each of these chunks, if I go into my shader quickly and tell it to just like ignore when a block is void, which means there's nothing in it. Why did that not update? So maybe let me just return a color. Right. So this is going to return like a bunch of solid blocks, basically. So as you can see, the world is just like blocks, like, and it's horribly flashy for some reason if we turn the light. But if we actually go inside of the blocks, I guess the better thing is to just turn on this so that you only see the X, because then it makes it more obvious because we'll have some detail. So as you can see, there's all these big red panels. They're the X planes, and so each chunk is exactly the same, and it's basically just because the chunks are 64 by 64 by 64. It's 64 X planes, and then 64 Z planes and 64 Y planes. And the shader checks to see if there's a block there. If there's not, it discards it and it goes on to the next one. And so what I've been doing for the last 2 streams was making it so that there used to be 128 planes because there was 64 facing that way and 64 facing that way. And I instead went in and said, well, actually, we can take the player's position and the plane's position when it, like, what block it is. And if it's positive of the player in the plane that it represents, then we can leave it. But if it's negative, we flip it around and move it one block over, so that basically all the planes, like the top of a block is like the Y planes, and then they move down and reverse their direction and become the bottom of a block if you're below the block that they could render. So basically they'll render the top of a block unless you're below that block, in which case they'll try and render the bottom of that block. The idea being that there's half as many vertices and half as many triangles to try and work out what to do with. So that should, in theory, like, make the frame rate work better. But I spent ages trying to work out what I'd done wrong, and it was because when I went from having basically 4 triangles per plane instead of 2 triangles per plane, I didn't update the shader to take strides of 4. It was still taking strides of 8, so it was skipping every other plane, and I was trying to work out where the missing planes were and stuff like that. I was going, what the fuck's going on? It was pretty obvious in hindsight, but I may have even said at some point like what it probably was, but I didn't think, oh yeah, I need to make sure I change that 4 to an 8, or that 8 to a 4, I mean. What do I do to turn it back off? Go back into here, and we just turn this off. Okay, so we're going to restart. And it was, like I'm saying, at the moment, I don't know what's going on. I've lost half of, like, a bunch of blocks in that when I start up with the exact same chunk size, it's generating 10,000 chunks instead of the 12,000 chunks it used to generate. Don't know what's changed, but anyway. So we go in play, go escape, go debug, we go uncap the FPS, show the FPS. And then we hit 2. Right, so we're getting 120 FPS. And if we go down here, so benchmark. Just going to copy this, paste this. We go, I'm very confused about why it is generating a greatly reduced number of chunks, because that's going to throw up whole benchmarks off. But we went, we're like 117 FPS. The issue is that that doesn't seem like a big enough difference. Like, that we've dropped 20% and we've gained 40%. So I don't know if that, like, is that because there's less chunks, or is that actually a reduction? this one's at 97. 97, and this one's at 108. So 97, 108. And then finally we'll just hit 8 and go, you're at 98. So we got an FPS increase, but like that could be from the reduced chunks, and I don't know why the chunks number has been reduced. We go back to our map gen. Or we go back to here and go, we are still generating the map like that. We got the same. It should have been bigger. That's what's throwing me. Like I don't think I changed any other code that would have. None of the code that I changed should have changed the number of chunks being generated. It should have actually made it bigger. Like almost entirely the reason for not building chunk meshes is that I wanted to see how fast this version of doing it is, because one advantage of doing it this way is that I don't have to rebuild chunk meshes. So if I change the world, I really update the everything, like all the voxels are stored inside of a texture, and so if I just update a pixel in that texture, then there's no need to regenerate a chunk. There's no re-greedy meshing, no admittedly, it doesn't seem to be very much faster, but the idea is that if you had like a continuously changing world, for example, like if I was doing a like a sand simulation or something like that, that was rendering, I could use compute shaders that used the same textures as their input, and then you could change it every single frame, and there's no lag waiting for the greedy meshing algorithm to run. And I know there's really fast greedy meshing algorithms, but I'm just saying, like, you could have every single chunk change every single frame, and this would just render just as fast. About mesh shaders. I don't know what I mean by mesh shaders, because I think they're all mesh shaders, but yeah, but like the idea of doing it this way is is just me experimenting more than anything. Because one of the other things that you can do to like make it extra fast is like that. Why is nothing? Maybe that's why nothing else has been generated. Oh, okay, yeah. No, I've never actually heard of them, but yeah, that would be the idea of that. Where this would be faster would be if you were using compute shaders to generate something on the GPU, because then there's no need to, rebuild the mesh and send it back to, like, the mesh just stays on the GPU. The only thing that needs to go back and forth is the actual voxel data, and that voxel data can theoretically be updated on the GPU as well, because you could, at the moment, I think they're read-only textures, but you could make them like read-write textures and then use a compute shader to update what the world looked like, and do like, falling sand simulations and stuff, like, 'cause people do them on the shaders all the time. Like, that's like one of those things where they go, oh, if you do this as a compute shader on the GPU, it's really, really fast. I think that's kind of it as well. It's also much easier, I think, as well, because I don't have to keep like a copy of the data and the mesh. Like the canonical copy of the data is the texture, and so modifying the texture modifies the copy. Like Bevy takes care of actually doing the rest. But yeah, it does seem to be slower. Like in terms of, like, if I did this with greedy meshing, it would probably take way longer to actually generate the meshes in terms of like raw compute. Like it would take again, there are really fast greedy meshing algorithms, but I haven't used them. But usually they take a few milliseconds. But once they were generated, then like it would probably be 200 or 300 FPS consistently. But I don't know. That would require building another one to test that. I also don't like this flickering that's coming from the lighting, and I don't know what I've done to break the lighting. But anyway, we'll just turn the lighting off. So if we just don't wait, I'm not even using the lighting, which implies that flickering is coming from something else. Whoa, that looks way nicer. But it also makes the flickering way worse. Huh. That's probably a post-processing shader applying like distance fog incorrectly. Huh. I don't know. I like the lighting so much. I just need to turn off the apparently I pressed something that turned off the sun as well, which I don't know what that did. How do I turn off the fog? Somewhere I'm turning on the fog, so presumably if I just don't. I'm assuming that's what's going on. Is there's a post-processing thing that's just not playing nice with my meshes and then they're flickering because the lighting seems to be stable. Just something about updating from 18 to 19, it's broken the fog and it's flickering. Hence, it flickers way worse in the distances because the fog at a distance would obviously apply a much stronger effect. No. All right. Let's go into the shader. I'm going to turn the lighting back off again because yeah, it could be an issue with the light, something interacting with the lighting. No, it's still flickering. So something is applying some kind of shader. There's volumetric fog. Exposure, player camera. Maybe we turn off the atmosphere. Because that's another thing that changed. I'm trying to think of like the things that they changed. And one of them was the atmosphere. So it could possibly be maybe the atmosphere is yeah, I don't know. Too thick, too thin, something like that, and it's just causing it to flicker in and out. Okay, atmosphere. Yep, okay, it was definitely the atmosphere. Now we turn the lighting back on because it actually looks remarkably better. Is the sun working? Oh no, the sun doesn't work without an atmosphere. We turn off the flying. For like a look on the ground. That's kind of cool. Okay. What was next on the list of things to do? Okay, so wow, we did that. We've done that. So we'll add more test biomes. Should we also maybe commit that this is working? Okay, so new shader. Okay. Also, that gravity feels like shit. Why is it so jittery? Interesting. Anyway, back onto the to-do list. I'm just getting distracted by just like running around. Don't really feel like making that. Don't really feel like making that. The LED could be fun. I don't know if the LED is worth the extra compute for it though. So I think the way that the LED works at the moment, right? Because they could always actually, that could be an interesting thing. So the How does the LED work? So I don't remember how the LED works at all, actually. But like I can compute the distance from the player because some of the LED, because there's this chunk LED, which is like yeah. So this is more like data that's passed into the shader. So at the moment, I have an LED that's like, if you pass in all the Fs, you're actually saying that the block is solid, and then it'll discard everything but the outside, like 6 faces. And then this one's like, if it doesn't happen to be solid, then compute the other stuff because So oops, don't delete that because we need that. But what I could also do is something like calculate the distance from the player. But you need to set that somehow, like as some kind of like uniform that gets set as a constant, I guess. Anyways, for now we're just gonna switch tech LED. I was trying to encode something. So and F, and then shift this down and says a solid chunk, not solid chunk. Huh. Anyway, we can calculate the distance from the player somehow. Because I think we have the view. Yeah, view wall position. So the view is the player. And so we're going to do something like, we'll turn fly mode back on. Fly. Oh, let me have a look. See, because what I'm thinking is once the blocks get beyond like a fairly distinct distance from the player, like it's going to become really obviously something is, I think. Okay, why the hell? Show FPS. Why do you get so slow? It's just there's just too many chunks to look at all of them. Which I guess is what this is trying to work on. Okay, so what I'm thinking for the LED system basically is at a certain distance, you can't really tell any two blocks apart. The question is, what is that distance? All right. Well, I mean, theoretically, can I go to like settings, view distance? Can we set this like really, really high? Apparently not, because I think I've broken everything. All right, anyway, we want to generate go to world gen, because we don't want the number of chunks to be why we're lagging. We just want the we just want to generate like lots of chunks in a direction. So we're going to say like, let's make this like 100, and then we just need to make sure that this number is significantly smaller at maybe, if we halve it, we want 20, 10, so if we go from 100 divided by 22 means we are 4.5 times bigger, which means 22 divided by 5 is 4. So we want this to be like maybe 3, which will give us 7 chunks by 100 chunks. And if we want, we can go back even further and about 200 chunks. Maybe like view distance. View distance. Render distance. So we only render up to 32. Let's render up to like 100. We can render further than we can view as well, because it's, I don't think it matters as long as I don't leave the chunk. I don't think they end up being hidden, but maybe I do check some when I spawn them in, maybe that, do they render or not? Right. Well, apparently it fades into infinite darkness if you... We need that light distance fade thing to not be so intense, I guess. We can turn the lighting off for now, right? So that we can actually see, like, the maximum distance. We just set that back to C instead of... Oh, no. Set that back to C. There we go. So we can see pretty far. The question is, if I turn off, like, half of all rendering... Okay, so it's like if LOD... The interesting thing with that would be like solid blocks just immediately take over that. Like whatever else if I don't know how to do, like, I'm assuming there's a distance function. WGSL distance function. So apparently you can call distance and then put 0.1, 0.2. If distance is greater than, let's say, like 10, we'll make it do this, which all this does, this is just discards things. This just makes entire planes invisible so that they don't get computed. Except 0.1 is going to be damn. We kind of need to compute the world position. Mesh world local. But we could just calculate. I guess it's like here. Well, actually, no, it would be out.what position is, I believe, vec3. So you say mesh function, mesh position local to world local. And they say that the distance between there, except that we're going to put in like 0, 0, 0. All right. Like that. And then 0.2 is view world position. Like so. Okay. So you're saying you can't do that because that would be a vec4. Okay. So we're going to say let chunk is equal dot xyz, and then we just say compose. Oh, one to me. There we go. So this should result in a chunk more than 10 away. So let's make this like 1,000 so that it's like something will render. Yeah. There you go. So as we change the number, 100. It's like anything. Okay. Yeah. No. 1,000 work though. Why's 1,000 work? That's very strange. Why does 1,000 work, but not 500? Like, surely 500 should just... Well, maybe it's just because I'm so high in the air. Probably. That's fine. So, what that's doing is saying anything more than, like, 500 blocks it's not even blocks, it's units of like distance, so triangulation. But anyway, yeah, sure, we can start with like 1,000. So this probably shouldn't be in an if-else statement. So I guess it's like if the distance to this chunk is 1,000 blocks and I guess there we go again, generating the world position. That does kind of imply that we need to like maybe we just generate the world position. Here, like so. Kind of. And then we were like, and out dot world position dot x modulo 2 equals 1. Okay. So now it's rendering all of them, but it's ignoring the x plane. The question is, can you tell? We need to kind of have this open so that we can see if there's any change. So I guess we just slam that there. Put this over here. So I'm just curious. Just slam this over here so that we can see it. Oh, yeah. So the theory goes, if I comment out, wow, I guess equals 3 means that's discarding nothing. I guess we should probably open our show FPS, uncap FPS. If it equals 0, if it equals 1, so it is skipping every other it should, in theory, be putting holes in things. That's just cutting nothing. What if we say like modulo 4? Okay, wait. So modulo 2 does not equal 0. Right. So that should be discarding like half of all the faces. But if I say like 4. Well, okay. We could also just maybe do this. We like do it everywhere. There are holes, yes. Oh, there are holes. That is very strange. What do we do with a Y? And okay, well, it's more like 4. Well position Y modulo 4 equals does not equal 0. So basically we're ignoring like 1 in 4. That's interesting. We do need to pass that down somehow to tell it to sample the LOD correctly, but Hmm. Okay, so what we need to do, I guess, is calculate the okay, LED's coming up from there. So we're gonna say like let step equal let's say 1,000 blocks is our limit. So we're gonna say calculate that distance. Distance. So the distance between out.world. I guess it's chunk position and dot xyz and view dot world position divided by 1,000 u32. Right, and then we say if, well, actually, let's do it from 0, 0, because that's what a lot of the shaders is. Because I can do it at runtime, I can just be like vec 3, 0. Right, so that means that this is calculating basically as if the player was standing at 0, 0. We can then say if out.worldPosition.x if our worldPosition.x modulo 4 equals 0, so modulo step does not equal 0. It doesn't like that. Modulo step does not step does not equal 0, and finally do this one. Divide by z. Oh, that's right. It's or and then z. Right. Resume. So basically, this is treating the LOD as if we are still at 0, 0 the whole time. That entire block gets eaten, which is a little bit strange. If we go like, why? Oh, it's probably because I'm hitting spacebar. Don't open the console. That crashes the game. Oops. Right, let's re-snap you over here. Go play, go escape, go debug, go show me the FPS, and show me the global position. And we just go like, so this is like 2,000 away. So why is it not discarding a bunch of things? It should be discarding shit by now. Because if I set this to saying like if step, so we're just going to say, I guess, else if step is greater than like 2. Okay, apparently not. Is that because steps greater than 2? No, that seems to just be the end of the road. Oh, sorry. You need to stay there. You need to drop on your own line so I can comment this out easily. Right, so that's just the edge of the map. Oh, look, there's the magic hole. Now, the annoying thing with them... Oh, great. Yeah, I remember now. The camera continuously moves with the player. So, we just need to set this to, like, -1,000. I guess it's more like 0, 0, -1,000. -2,000? Not 200, 2,000. 2,500. Hey, it puts us in near the fucking void. Uh, 2,000. 2,000. Alright, let's just go like 3,000. So somehow this is doing steps of like 3. Okay. So calculate out.wall position up here. Modulo step equals 0. If U32 out.wall position dot x modulo step equals 0, or out y modulo step equals 0. So if any of them equals 0, that does not equal 0. I don't know why it's disappearing everything. I wonder what the step is, I guess. Is that distance over by 1,000? Okay, well, clearly this is where step is greater than 2, so that means that step, if step equals here, so well, that's interesting. Well, if that's the only thing it's doing, then I can probably just do that in here. Right. Right. So this then becomes like a... Do that first. So if it's a solid... If it's a one... Oh, why does that... Oh, because it's just in compiling. Yeah. Then we can do that. All right. Which means we get rid of this being else dependent. Right. And we can probably get rid of this bit too. Okay. So we need to I guess go like if step is greater than 0. Oh, it doesn't do anything now, but anyway, discard it. Apparently the step is just always greater than 0. I guess because yeah, we're passing that number indirectly. Sure. If step's greater than 0, discard everything. Yeah, sure. We need to keep the discard part. We just probably need to comment it out like so. And then we need to go something like if vertex dot normal, right? If vertex normal dot x does not equal 0, which means we are an x-plane, and var out dot world. Oh wait, we should please calculate. No, that's position to world clip. That's what clips it. How do you do this? So it's out dot position. So you calculate the world position. Right. So you just say like out dot world position dot x modulo step equals does not equal 0. It doesn't like that for some reason. It's probably because you need to be like a U32, something like that. So you take your position, modulate by step, does not equal 2. Then we're going to put you into the discard thing. We probably also need to multiply by 2. Right. You know, we just because you're fucking of course. We need to test in the Z plane because we are Z. We're testing the Z. Alright. Let's go in here and like actually see if they're disappearing. Also Z. I guess this is what makes like non-solid blocks. Yeah. So are we actually cutting off half of all of the Zs? We are. And then if I made this offset, wherever it was, if I made this like, the annoying thing is it's the distance from the plane doesn't move. How do I calculate the position then? Strange. Anyway, let's make this like 6,000. Okay, so it is definitely getting chopped up. We also probably want to be like so divide by 1,000, but we want to go like 2 power 2 comma this number. I don't know how you do that. Well, it says wrong argument type task pow. Okay, WGSL power. Okay, so we say 2 to the power distance divided by 1,000 dot floor. Oh, so maybe floor. You really don't like that, do you? Hmm. Distance divided by 1,000. So floor that 2. What? Okay. Fine. Oh, it's probably this that's broken now. Aha. Okay. So it'll be like pow 2, like that. So that should make all of our steps powers of 2. Why does that matter? Because brain. Why does that matter? Wait a second. Oh, because this is me teleporting. Yeah. So they need to be powers of 2 because I need the like when I flip this, it to flip sort of thing. That makes sense. So when I'm looking at it this way, and when I come to this side, they need to flip directions. Which I guess they're already doing, aren't they? Basically, I just need always to have a block on the chunk boundary. Anyway, so that is discarding every chunk of like 2 to the power, the distance that we're traveling, which in this case is 6,006. Okay. I don't think this is correct because what that means is like every 1,000 blocks we double the step, but that means that very quickly it becomes like the entire thing, and then we're just going to like need to like because as soon as it gets to what is it, like 2 to the 5 or something. When you did like the log of this or something. Hmm. Maybe. So that means we make this like 100,000. It should be really far apart again. Okay. Make you 1,000. Then it's every block, and then 2,000. Okay, maybe not. Or maybe it is. I don't know. That's every like 4 or 5 blocks or something. There must be every 8 blocks. But that's also that's 20,000. Okay. Sure. 2,000? Alright, I'm gonna call that good, I think. So we take the the log of the distance divided by 1,000 and then 2 to the power of that number. Maybe we should floor the... that. Oh, okay. Well, that seems to be working. Anyway, that gives us our step. So now we're discarding every other one. We are probably going to need to pass that information down somehow to the shader so that it knows to sample like every other block, basically. But that should work with like exactly the same way, but then it's like discarding everything. So we just need to go, when we output a vertex output. Okay. Okay. Because then you take in a vertex output. So we have to just like track down now where this. Oh no, there we go. All right. So I'm thinking if we just get rid of that, and then just do that, we can get rid of that. Okay. Apparently that's not correct. All right. It should work. As long as these two are identical, because it's obviously we're using... Oh, we must be using something. Yeah, we're using something in here. Vertex output instance. Vertex range dither. Sure. So we're going to add a new one. It's going to be like at location. I can't be bothered working out which of these locations is the one I'm actually using. So at location 8. This is going to be a LOD, and there's going to, it's like a step, which is a I32. Right, a U32. I don't think it matters, but you know. Then we come down here, and we go step. So when you get the, so you're going to say like out dot step. Out dot step equals U32, like so. It's now it's complaining about compiling stuff, which is fine. Then we're going to go if out dot step is greater than that, out dot step. Okay. Lovely. We should probably put this on the Z. The idea of this is just, if my understanding is correct, at least, what's going to end up happening is we're going to, if we had like a step of 32, we want when we flip it to shift 32 over, so that it's the same block of voxels that share the same step. Now, theoretically, you don't need one step to go in because the entire chunk would be using the same step size. I also need to somehow work out how it's working at the absolute position, because it's annoying the shit out of me that as I move the camera, it keeps resetting. Somehow we work out the actual position of the camera. But anyway, this does all the same shit to update that. So now we skip over every, second or third one. Then inside of our thing here, we can say at location 8 is step, which is a U32, a U32. Excellent. All right, nothing changed there. We can now do something that's like, I guess, like mesh dot step does not equal these should have disappeared, right? Now this one definitely should have disappeared. You're annoying. Okay. Is it not compiling? Is that the problem? No. If mesh.step equals does not equal 1, it does not equal 0. It's greater than 2, 3. Okay, so it means it equals 2. Here at least. Okay, so over there it disappears. Very strange. So these take steps of 2, I assume. No, they're taking steps of 4, which means that you are probably taking steps of 2. No, you're taking steps of 1. You're definitely taking steps of 1. You're doing something funky, I guess. Oh, okay, wait. So then you need to be plus the Z only, because again we're only working on the Z. You're plus step. Well, out dot step. Because you moved over that plus that. So if I plus 1, it works. I plus 2, it works. I plus 3, it works. I plus 4, it works. It's gone too far now, but it works. Which is interesting, because why can I not plus out dot step? What the fuck is out dot step? Oh, you're expecting, okay. The wrong type. There we go. Okay. So that should in theory, mean that these are all back to being nice flat planes. Okay. Fun. Okay. So I think that should result in all of the steps being the same size. But then inside of here, we go, okay, so if your step does not equal 0, well, if your step's greater than 2, which actually doesn't make sense because these shouldn't have steps greater than 2, but anyway. Yeah, but 3 gets rid of all of them, but it does leave a bunch up that way. Which makes me feel like I've done something terribly wrong here. These are definitely not stepping by 2. It equals 2. There's a bunch over there. Theirs equals 2. If it equals 3. Yours should not equal 3 because... Okay. So I'm just an idiot, apparently. It's doing something as a float, I guess, and when you power it, it's... Okay. Fine. That's in here is when we calculate the fucking step. So the step is equal to a U32 of the power of the log of this. So we need to take the distance, and then we need to floor the log of the distance. Do they ever turn up again? So, step is greater than 0. It's everything, because the step is always 1. Step is greater than 1. No, you're stepping 2, right? Yes. You're stepping 1. Which doesn't make sense to me why your step is wrong. Okay, step equals 2. It doesn't make sense. It disappears up there, but why is it all visible down there? You clearly don't have a step of 2. So how the fuck are you getting a step of 2? Well, I don't get how you've got a step of 2. Whatever. No, it doesn't. It's not whatever because I can't move on until I work out. -1. Now they're all gone. They're all still gone. You suck. 2 to the power of the floor of the log. Oh, so right, we need the absolute of the floor. Because negative number. Braces for you. Okay, wow. Take the absolute of the floor of the floor of the log of the distance divided by 1,000. Take the absolute of the floor of the log of the distance. Well, distance should always be positive, actually. So this doesn't actually matter. The distance between 2 points is always positive. So out does step. Okay. We just need to maybe just make this into a normal number. And go, okay. So at some point it does become not equal to 1. Because yeah, it's never equal to 1. And it does appear that it stops there somewhere. And then whenever I said equals to 2, it's everything that way. Which I guess kind of makes sense. So we need to, I guess maybe not divide by 1,000 so much. Right, so maybe if we said divide by 500, that should move it closer to 0, 0. Right, and then these are the ones that have a step equal to 2. Okay. So then if we say a step equal to 1, it's those ones over there, and then the step equal to 3 is those ones over there. Right, so that means that that step number is actually being the number I expect it to be. So then we want it to be how to that number. I do not like that argument. Right, so we floor that number, which means we shouldn't need to turn it into a U32 to not result in weirdness. And then we need to turn that back into a U32. So then 2 to the power of that. And then according to that, well, I guess nothing should be 3. What about 4? Does 4 turn up? So these are all 4s. And then it should be, so we said 1. Okay, so nothing gets 1. Damn it. Right, okay, wait, I got that. So that means we need to take the 2 yellow, okay, minus 1. because distance is always positive. We take the log of that, we floor it, and we subtract 1. Which means that if we said anything with a mesh step of 1, it's that stuff down there, and mesh step of 2 is this stuff here, all the way up to like way up there. The mesh step of 3 should get nothing because, yep, there's no step of 3. But then step of 4 should be the like final stuff up there. Okay. Lovely. So, and then to make the like steps not as wide, you can make this number smaller. So we say like 250. That should halve the distance between steps, which makes us now at the step of 4, yeah? Yes. Right, but then theoretically, because again, like 6,000, we should still see the step of 1. Apparently not. Okay. I thought it would be narrowing that width. Maybe we need the other way. Maybe we take the distance. We take the log of the distance. We divide that by 4. Why have you... okay. How did I do that? I said 0, and then I said that anything with this mesh step 1, that should just be the stuff that's below me. So I think I've busted it. Yeah. Okay. So what if I just did that? No. We need to divide the distance. Wait. Right. No, it's divided by 2. It grows. Okay, so it grows too quickly. So that's log of the distance divided by 4. So then, we're gonna go here and be like, show me everything that has a step of 2 then. Okay, so we need to grow faster so that we can get like a 2 and then a 4, I think. Also, the way to see that would be to go negative 1,000 blocks and go, are we in the negative 2z? Yeah. No. So we want to up this until it's like, maybe like, say like divide by 5. Okay. Divide by 4. 4.1. 2. So moving it further away. I think it is. Okay, so divide by 3. 3.5. So 3.5 seems to make it about 700 blocks. Well, no, it was about 1,000 blocks. Right, which makes it log 10. Right. course. The distance, yeah, okay. So okay. So say like at 1,250. Right. So then that's 2, and then well, we still don't get to see 4 because I guess to get to 4, it's kind of we need the opposite. God damn it. Basically, what's happening is that like at a log. That's interesting that it moved everything. Oh, because I've flown up. So it's like it never reaches the next thing, which does make sense because it would be like 1,000,000 before you. Because this is, if it's log 10, then it's every 10 times it gets bigger. Maybe I would want to use log 2. Log 2. I'm assuming I can put in like a second argument or something. No, it's just called log 2. Where is it? So take the log 2. Okay, I think it's going like the complete opposite direction. I really need to split this up so that like in my head it makes more sense. I can work this out. Anyway, so we're going to say let PO2 how equals. So we do this, right? So that in theory should tell us the number of times the power of 2 to get back to where we started, which is effectively saying that if we put that in here, if we put power in here, we would get exactly to where we were going. So we're going to say power minus 10, right? Because 2 to the 10 is 1024. So minusing 10, that should like take 1,000 blocks. And then every time we double, it should add another 1,000 blocks. So pow, something floor. Expected curly brace. Okay, it's more like do that. Then we subtract 10, and we clamp u between 0, because 2 to 0 would be 1. 0 and let's just say 4. Like 16, I think. 2 to the 4. 2 to the 4. 16. The biggest step you can take is 16. So clamp 2 to 4 and then give it power. Right, we'll call you power because I can't apparently reuse that name. Okay. So then, as you can see, it's not quite there. So we're showing everything that has a step of 2. So it's about 2,000 blocks, which means we probably want to subtract 9. Where were we? So here, so we are standing at an offset of about 1,020, 2,000, and the fact that it's that far away makes me think that it's about 1,000. So we're going to say subtract 9, and that should move it. So now we're standing like bang in the middle of it, and then everything over there should be at a distance of 4, right? So like if we go here and we say like a step of 4. So everything with a step of 4, yep, is there, and then there's everything with a step of, so just 2, and then there's 4, and then so the step of 8 should be even further into the distance. Okay, lovely. So everything with a step of 2. Now we come down and we go, okay, you actually do have a step of 2? Yes, okay, good. So now that means that we're basically getting every other z of 2. Okay. So if mesh, so this is rendering everything with a step of 2. Now when we have our texture sample here, we say can I be like let C equal else, right? And then we don't need to return. We can just return. We can just say C equals that. If C fine var C if C equals vec for f. Right? Does that compile? Not rendering. Okay. So now we could have, this is just a raw texture sample, and then we can say, we can make a new function down here somewhere. That's just called like a LOD sample. LOD, FN, LOD sample. Right, which is going to need, sampler, vec2, f2, block ID. So we need a block, which is a U32. Why do I divide? Okay, it's 256 colors, and then we add one, so we're in the middle of it, and then we sample in the middle of the texture. Okay, yeah, so we just need the block. And then I think from there we can... We don't even need, no, we just need the position. So we need pos, which is a u, it's a ivec, vec 3i, and step, which is a u32. We're going to say let var c equals var c vec 3, was it vec 4? Vec 4f. Right, so that's our output. Vec 4f, which is c divided by step. Like that. So we need to return. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to say u equal LOD sample pos what else we need? We need to do the step, which is mesh dot step. You don't like that for some reason. Ah, it's a U. Okay. Okay, yep, we say U. Right. So this resolves, and now it disappears because we return, well, I guess nothing. Zeros. Yeah, it's got an opacity of 0. Okay. So then we're going to go. Well, you don't divide by step. Well, you do. You divide by step, but it's like pow step 3, like that. You do that. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, well. So it's divide equals. I've just realized that I need to like c dot a equals 1. Right. Because otherwise, as you can see, there the opacity is getting clobbered. That's interesting. I'm unclear why it's gone black like that. It's very strange. I guess we don't have to... We're doing something. If mesh depth equals 0 and mesh world normal z dot 1 equals 0, load the LOD. So the color is equal to loading the LOD. So the color is equal to black. Ah, I almost said it. Right. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Sure. If c dot a is greater than 0, c dot a equals 1. Right, there we go. So we don't want to set the alpha to 1 if we never actually find a block. And anyway, we're going to go for... We need to find a for statement. For I don't remember how to do for statements in WGSL. Okay, for. Ah. Right. So we need to do annoyingly like a bunch of nested loops. So for x in I x less than step x plus plus. Okay. Except again, we're only doing z, which is fun. So then it's for x and then for y, y. I mean, technically, you should sample the z number of in. Fine. That's going like, because in my head I'm going, we don't actually need to do the z because we only need to like test the plane. The annoying thing with this is technically it's adding just as many samples. It's just it renderless triangles, but it's adding just as many samples because we're just sampling every single block. Okay, interesting. Because then we just go up here. We just go the way that we sample this. We just. All right. Well, I mean, I guess technically you're like negative. Wait, no, it is that because it's so your c plus equals then we got the block ID, and the way we got the block ID is by the block. Okay. So we say let block equal get block position. And then we go block. Okay. So now we're just sampling the same Same block we otherwise would be, but just like a dozen times. Good. I guess the trick is to try and work out if you can see it in the distance. Anyway, so then you say let block get block. And then you say, so we add the texture. So this position is actually plus vec3 x, y, z. Because we have y twice. That's a bit weird. Okay. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this is the block. And we say if block dot if block equals 0, continue. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, that's the question. Is that like, well, I guess it is kind of really obvious that it suddenly appears that line. So what does it look like without any LOD? So we have to sum up the colors. I guess we have to go like let not like var count, which is a u. This is an F32 because then we have to cast it back, and then we say count plus equals 1, and then instead of doing this divide by pow thing, we just say count, and then we say if count is greater than 0. That's incorrect, I believe. So you get the block. Do we have to set this to something? Can't equal 0? No? I don't know how it's getting anything. That's what that's implying, is that it's somehow sampling something. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what's confusing me because is is we need to effectively take the position divided by position. It's like the pixels are still the same size, which means we need to go like if you sample LOD, we need to be like, let P equal pos divided by LOD, by step. Right, and since you're a U32, that should force you to be a specific, like, corner. And then when we say P plus XYZ. Okay, like, I mean, it kind of worked. But not really. Because Wait, no, we need to so we resolve the position. Resolves the center. Then we say var position is the floor of the this of the that. Like that. Lovely. Because what it's doing, it's a little bit weird that it seems to like average the dirt to the grass a bit, but yeah. So what's happening is we're dividing the position by the step size and then times by the step size, which is the equivalent of rounding it and then pulling it back up so that effectively like we work out the position. So like this corner samples as if it's here, this corner samples as if it's here, this corner samples as if it's here. It should mean that it blocks stuff that's behind it, basically. More likely, like it's less likely to have like a hole. Hello, welcome to the stream. Yeah, it's less likely to let holes through into like things that aren't then rendered. So if we go back to our thing and be like, if we upped our distance, it's inverted shader. We said this was like 5,000. This should like up us into like the 4x4 steps. I think. It's hard to tell. I guess we go back up to here and we say, oh, wait. Sum does not equal 1. There we go. Whoa, that's real laggy. Okay. Right, what if we just don't sample around? Continue. What if I just said sample X, sample Y, and then sample Z? And we say, we work out P from the corner. We do that. We say, if blocked, otherwise, you just, yeah. So I think the issue with that is it was doing more work. Was the issue. Like the lower the LOD, the more work it needed to do. Apparently it's still doing more work the lower the LOD. Yeah. So what's happening now is that effectively when you sample an empty space, because like if we just return the first thing it samples, and we always try to sample the lower right corner, then like the idea is that like this stone just sort of gets expanded upwards to cover it. The question is like, can you tell? Yeah, pretty obvious. I guess from the actual distance you would look at it, because again, as I move further and further away, we effectively are testing the distance. The LED keeps like re-clipping back. Mesh wells location. Texture sample. It's not you. And technically the other one would also work. Positive will clip. If we set this back to 0, so this is going to be like what you would actually see. Can you tell where the LOD drops? Like, it's actually not too bad. But I also don't think we're getting that much of a performance boost from it. No, so uncap the FPS. And you look this way and you go, what is like for the we're like 60 FPS. And if I told it to not bother with the LOD, which we would do by saying something like this. Right. Yeah. Yeah, see, like, we're just not getting any FPS. Oh. Doing that. There. Yeah, so what it's doing basically is just trying to clip the it's probably a more efficient way of doing it. But yeah, what it's doing is it's sampling each chunk. Basically, like it's working out how many to skip. And then sampling. I think the irony is, right, if I just don't pass it through, like if we just go back to just purely calculating see that way. We go, let's fly to one end of the map, look back over the whole thing, and be like, oh, here, this way. Okay, we got like 80 FPS, and then when I turn this on, I think it's because I'm also introducing a jump. So it's like 83 FPS. Theoretically, I don't have to do that. I can just say that C, let C equal this. Right. So we're getting like 82 FPS, and then if I swap that to, I guess we'll just put this up here and be like, because theoretically, doing a loop of 111 is the same. So we're just going to do that and go, we are getting 84 FPS. So there's a very, very little FPS change. But I'm curious if we said like, so go back to this and go, so it is an ever so slight loss in FPS. It's like 1 FPS though. Then we're going to go back to here. We're going to go, if this. Okay, so calculate the step. If we don't bother with that, we just say that, don't do this, and then just say let step equal 1. Out.step equals 1. So that means that it'll do everything. We're no longer skipping over like all of the Z stuff. We effectively don't change our FPS at all, which is annoying. I was really hoping. Well, because it kind of does need to sample at a bigger step to do that. It does seem to give us like about 1 FPS back, but I can't tell whether that's something else. It's so noise anyway. Like theoretically, we can do this, and we can say y, x, y, y, and x. And we go, now we're like mulliganing like everything. So if we set this back to like negative, it's like 2000 or something, to get us like into the area where it's doing it. So we have a look. Yeah, it doesn't actually seem to be doing it properly. Okay, maybe that's where all that FPS was going. It was rendering empty thing? I don't know. We're also sampling the block device, which is, you know, a bit silly. Yeah, I don't know. All right. Well, it's getting late. I've had enough tonight. It's an interesting idea. I think there's something to it, but I really think you'd need more of something else. Like I think the biggest drawback this has is that it calculates basically the LOD every single frame, and it kind of has to. Like, I guess there might be a way of buffering it somewhere, but like the idea is that like you because of doing this all on the GPU rather than baking things into meshes, every frame it needs to work out what LOD to do and then, yeah, do that. So, yeah, interesting. Because that's the other thing I think is like, theoretically, we could way faster because I just sample the bottom right corner, but it's like, well, then you get end up with big chunks disappearing because the bottom right corner is the only one that's invisible. So then, and it doesn't seem to save us any frames, so. Bum 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 bum. Okay, anyway, yeah, that's gonna end the stream. We'll have to tidy this up next time, but I'm too tired to be bothered doing that now. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you in the next stream whenever that happens to be.